Alpine troughs put out, ready for filling for next spring. Going to move them around. Not quite sure where they're going yet. Going to build some more as well, make some more. Good afternoon. Back in the garage. Going to do some more seed. No, just kidding.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. And Julie's back with us.
I was there last time.
Yeah, but you were in silent mode. No, I think you're feeling better, dear.
I was really trying to suppress a cough.
Yes, I know.
Yes, no, I'm feeling good. Thank you very much.
So we're going to make a Alpine trough, only a small one. Now, there are many, many, many different ways of making these things, and there are many, many different recipes for the actual mix as well. So this is the mix that I found works really well for me, and this is the method I like. This mix I use is tried and tested over, I don't know, 15 years now.
I think so.
And some have broken. Don't get me wrong. I've played around with things and some have actually broken. Some have fallen apart. Just wear and tear and perhaps dropping one or two when I shouldn't have done. I know I broke one when we moved, but this pretty well works for me. Here we go. Wooden box. Simple. 3/4 inch ply I tend to use. Now this one, the outside dimension is 8 3/4. Don't know why I came to that arrangement, but anyway, I did. Lengthwise, we're 22 inches long by 15 inches wide.
But anybody can make any size they want.
Yeah, you can do whatever size. I mean, you'll have seen some of the pictures we've got of our other troughs, and some of them are much, much bigger. Some are shallow, some are deep. Play around as much as you like with it. So when you make it, you've got to have some holes in the bottom. I use little bits of styrofoam. So I put 4 bits of styrofoam and then one in the middle. Bearing in mind, these will be buried in concrete. But the beauty with the styrofoam is when you're done, you can just punch a hole in it with a screwdriver. So that goes in the very bottom. Then after that, we put in some reinforcing. Now I'm using weld mesh. Point that these things will let go more often than not is that the base hits the wall. So that's why these are turned up. So this one sits inside on the styrofoam blocks. Doesn't matter if it doesn't sit level. Well, this is how it will sit anyway. And then that just flattens out.
And you've got a gap all the way around?
Yeah, there's a gap all the way around the outside. And then obviously, when we're ready, we'll put in the inner box. But we'll stop at that for a minute. So the first stage is the box is complete, the outside box. We have the inside box. Now, this looks like a big contraption. But again, believe you me, it's obviously smaller. And I like to leave a good 1.5 inches between the boxes so that it's nice and strong. So we have 1.5 inch gap all the way around.
And then obviously the gap at the bottom.
And then the gap at the bottom. But I'll show you more about how this all works and why this is made this way later on. So that's basically the ingredients for making the box and the container. So, oh God, I did it again. Cement. 3 parts cement. 1 part sand. I use a concrete sand. There's a bag over there on the floor. Julie will show you in a minute. 2 parts peat. Any old peat. Now I know a lot of Europe now, and certainly in the UK, you can't necessarily get your hands on peat. So you could use a very, very fine bark chips and put them through a sieve. But again, if you're making these things in the UK, you probably don't have to make them quite as strong as I am. So you can, again, play around. And then we have the final part it's peat perlite. It's actually ProMix. It's ProMix HP, which stands for high porosity. And then this one I use for cuttings. But I find it works really well for this. So that is a 50-50 peat perlite mix. And then I use 2 parts of that. So that's the basic recipe. Now, again, there are many, many different recipes you can use. You've got to really figure out your climate more than anything. As I say, ours is super harsh. Other places you may not need to go to the extent of, you probably don't need so much cement. And the other thing you can do if you want is you can put a dye in with this, which you can buy. I don't. I'm not on this one. I've not in the past. I might try some on a couple bigger outdoor ones. But for now, this is my recipe. Don't do as I do, mix with your hands. It doesn't bother me, it never has worried me, it doesn't burn, but it can, the cement. The other thing I would say is any peat bark nuggets that you're using, make sure they're wet before you try mixing them, because although you're going to add water to this mix, what I found in the past is, especially using peat, you get little lumps and bumps in it, hard bits of peat. And they don't absorb the moisture just by mixing them with the cement and the other ingredients. And then what happens is you have little dry spots in your troughs, which look nice until over the winter they absorb water. And those little dry spots, then when they freeze, it expands, and that's what starts the actual troughs from breaking. So I make sure what I actually do is any ingredients I'm going to use for this, I wet the day before and I leave it overnight. So the one in my hand is all dry. And yeah, you can break that up, but there's always going to be, there we go, there's a piece. It doesn't look much, but in the winter when that gets wet, expands, and it'll start cracking. So I wet everything the day before, leave it. This is really nice and moist, and I did the same with the peat. So make sure your ingredients are all nice pre-moistened before you start mixing it.
And be careful of the cement dust.
Yeah, the cement dust is a bit of a pain, but like I said, I mean, I would just imagine everybody's going to be wearing gloves doing this.
A mask, maybe.
And a mask, possibly. And so we've mixed it up. One of the little dry spots you can see in it are just the cement. That's not a problem. They will absorb the water over a period of time, so they're not a problem. So thoroughly mixed. Have I got enough? I don't know. Hopefully I've got enough to do the whole thing. If not, I'll just make up another little small batch with exactly the same recipe. Otherwise you get a line across where the two mixes were poured. So, snow juice. Water, snow juice, add. Consistency wise, you're kind of looking, I just said to Julie just now off camera, porridge. Anyway, he's got to give it a really good mix. So come back to me in 10 minutes and I should have it mixed up.
Nice use of an onion hoe.
Yeah, it works really well, actually.
Once a gardener, always a gardener.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favourite way of mixing this. I mean,
well, we do have a cement mixer.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, I do have a cement mixer, and yes, it would be a lot quicker with that. But the cleanup in it, this time of year when I don't have an overabundance of water available, it's just a pain. So I just
Plus, you don't want your nice cement mixer that you use for compost mixing to be full of cement.
Cement, yeah. So anyway, it's just, yeah. And I mean, most people are not going to have access to a cement mixer anyway. So anyway, this is, consistency-wise, it's not bad. I think that's porridge looking. Don't over wet it. That's the only thing I would say. The more water you put to any cement mix, concrete mix, the more water you put to it, the weaker you make it. Bearing in mind, I'm trying to keep this fairly strong because of our climate. Right. So we're all mixed. We're all mixed up. Gotta stop.
So,
No, we're all mixed up. Don't forget to wet your mould, especially because ply, very dry. So, oh, sorry, Julie. Just give it a squirt of water. Not too much. Just to, because otherwise the ply will suck a lot of the moisture instantly out of the cement mix.
okay.
Place your polystyrene squares. Bearing in mind, you don't put them right to the edge because the wall is going to be there and the water won't get out. So that is your first layer of cement mix, goes to the height of those little squares of styrofoam. And yes, I'm using my hands and using my fingers because it's just a lot quicker. I don't want to be mucking around with too much with this, as I don't like mucking around with a lot of stuff. So get a layer in the bottom. Just keep your fingers on your little squares so they don't move, and don't bury them completely. You need to know where they are. Now this doesn't not necessarily have to be dead smooth. Just make sure you work it into the, and I would suggest a stick. Work it into the corners, work it around your little styrofoam squares. And again, don't necessarily flatten, smooth out the bottom. You want this layer to stick to the next layer that we're going to put in. If you flatten it out, it doesn't stick so well. There he is. Bit too much in there. Next, we put in the metal base. So just center it as best you can, so that you leave an even gap all the way around the outside. And then stick another square over the top of the square that's underneath. All right, so once you've got your wire mesh grid in the bottom, just put a little bit of concrete around, a few little spots, just to, because it's going to twist a bit. And then make sure your styrofoam sits above the one underneath. Right, that's going to hold it in place now, so I can just work this in. So we're just working it into the one underneath.
Is that one of my kitchen bowls,
No.
Garry?
No, I don't know what gives you that. Actual fact, yes it is. It's one that you left up in a tunnel at Meadowview one day and you never returned for it.
So you just thought you'd take it?
No, you left it there. I didn't take it. You left it there, didn't want it back, so I've commandeered it. Again, just make sure your styrofoam squares stay directly above the others. Obviously, there are definite ways to improve on what I'm doing, but honestly, this has just worked for me so many times. I guess I just stick with what I know. We've got the concrete in the bottom. We're roughly up to the level of the little styrofoam blocks. I've made sure that they're pushed down tight to the one underneath, which they are. And then I've worked the concrete all the way around the outside, trying to get a little bit to squidge out between the wire. So next we're going to put in these guys. So these are the uprights, which I have to put in first, and you'll see why in a minute. Now it doesn't matter exactly where these things go. They're not going to sit right for the minute. They're just going to stay there. And then I'll put the other one in. That one has to go that way. So then this one will fit in as well. So it just gets pushed into the concrete. It's already in place. And as I say, you can see they won't hold their shape at the minute, but that doesn't matter. As long as they're in place, that's good. I don't worry about this little piece. There's such a small gap between, and they very, very rarely will they break here. They break on where the base joins to the wall, and they'll go on the corners. That's where if they're going to go, they'll go on those corners. So that's why I just wrap the wire around the corner. So this wire now is pushed down into the bottom. It's touching the bottom one, so that all becomes one when I pour the rest of the concrete in. So this looks like a bit of a contraption, and I suppose you could say it is, but Again, this is what I find that works.
So you're going to explain the wood that's on
I
there?
will explain it. So we have obviously a smaller box. Now this is not screwed to this. The only thing that's holding it in shape is the piece of wood on the top. And the same on this end. And the other thing you will notice that these are cut. Both ends are cut. So it's about an eighth of a mil cut in them. And then holding them together, if Julie sticks you can see there are just 4 screws and a piece of ply. So if I were to take these handles off the top, and these off, it would all fall apart. We don't need anything stopping this thing moving out because we're going to fill it up with concrete. So what I'll do is I'll put this on here and you'll see. So this sits down and I've just got to squidge it down until it touches. There we go. So now that base, this base is sat on the concrete base. I've got to line up these lines here because then I know everything is centered all the way around. I have an inch and 5/16 gap all the way around the outside. So flatten out the bottom. You can see the styrofoam blocks still. There's one there, and then the ones in the corner, one there. There's another one there. If there's a little bit of concrete on the top, it doesn't really matter because you just punch through with a nail or something when you're ready. One there, one there. Need lots and lots of good drainage. Now, the other thing I learned over a period was I used to just make this middle box freestanding. So I used to just sit it on the concrete cement that I already poured in the base. Now, the problem with that is to get the air out of the concrete as you start building the sides up, you use a hammer and you tap the sides of the box. I'll show you. You just go around in circles and you just all the way around. Even now you can do it. It just settles the concrete, gets the air out. But what I was finding was once I start building up the inside, that this middle box actually was sinking into it. And believe you me, it was a real pain to try and get this inner box out. So that's why I suspend it now over the top of here. And it does work really well. So we've got to that stage. This box, as you can see, is only just sat on the bottom. So it just sat on the layer of concrete we have. I've worked the concrete through so that it's in contact with the concrete that we poured as the base. So now it's just a case of go around, bit at a time, just building the sides up and keeping this weld mesh just nice and centered. Now I had marked these so I know where they had to go. So that should now be nice and centered. If it's not dead centered, really, it doesn't matter. These old troughs were actually originally, they were carved out of granite. So they're not precision pieces of engineering. In fact, if they're a little bit off, sometimes I think they look nicer if they're a little bit wonky. And as I say, there are different methods. I mean, this is my method of doing it. The other method is where you can make actually a wild mesh or a chicken wire frame. And you can push concrete or cement mix in from both sides and make your trough out of that. I've tried that and I didn't like the look. I like the troughs looking fairly square and formal. I don't know, again, that's just me. So again, I like to use the fingers in my hands because that way I can get a bit of concrete down both sides of the weld mesh. Once you've got a little bit in there, it'll hold its shape and you don't have to worry about it. So I want a little bit more on the outside just to hold it where I want it. So I tend to work the 4 corners first just to get everything centered, make sure I've got the weld mesh where I want it. And again, I'm just using my hands. I know it looks mucky, and yes, it is, but gloves if you want. Don't have to use your hands. You could try and find a tool to do this job. I've tried finding one. I actually did make a long funnel one day out of some ply, but too much fiddling around. And then once you've got some in there, just give it a little tap down work it down a little bit with your piece of stick, both inside and out. And again, you can center. You can see now how nicely that is centered up. So now you can just fill it. We'll do this one, this side again. Firm that down. This one looks like it needs a little bit more on the outside just to hold it in place. The only couple things, just progressively work your way around the trough, filling up a bit at a time. When you do use your stick to firm it down, don't try and make a flat surface. You know, along the back here you can see I've firmed it down, but it's all rough and uneven. If you leave long flat surfaces, it shows up as lines on your trough when it's finished. Now, so you might like that. If you want that look, that's the way to do it. Pack a layer down, let it go off a little bit, and then pack another layer down. But I like mine to be all the same all the way around. So I'm just gonna, it's just a quick tap, pat down, and then once that layer is all been done, I just go around with a hammer. And this, so once that's all been around a couple of times, tapped it down, let's just get this filled up, because this mix is starting to go off, believe it or not. Now just pushing this down as hard as I can, just scraping off. At this stage, I'm not too worried about the top, because I can tidy that up once it comes out of the mould. Get all the excess off. There, I think that's pretty well it. It's nice and full. It's tapped down. I'll probably go around again quickly with the hammer, just to give it another tap all the way around, just to make sure. We're full. Make sure you tap it round the side several times just to settle everything down. I've been around multiple times. The top at the moment is not that tidy, but again, I'm not too worried about that. We can deal with that once we take the mould off. If Julie pokes herself inside, it's quite a lot of water in here, but it's only surface water that's accumulated from the concrete and cement working up through. Don't worry about that. So this now has to be left, and probably 3-4 days I will put a piece of damp cloth over this. I don't want it drying out too fast because it is quite warm in here, believe it or not. So that will just sit there, and then I'll take it off before it goes completely hard, because at that stage then I can just round off the edges, because obviously it's very, very square with the ply. But you'll see that when we take it apart. So yeah, we'll put this to bed, and if Julie comes over here, so I wasn't sure how much to make. Looks like I got it just about spot on by the looks of things.
Not bad, is it?
No, which is not bad. It's always a bit of a guesstimate. I would sooner always have a little bit left over than trying to have to mix another batch exactly the same, because again, as close as you can get it, there's always a little line there. And then by the time you've mixed another batch up, what you've already got in the mould is going off, and they just don't stick together very well. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping I've got that packed down nicely. Proof will be in the pudding as such when I pull it all apart, but that'll be part 2.
Part 2. We've moved it outside. Julie's complaining it's dark in the workshop, dark and dingy. So we thought we'd come outside today. It's actually not bad. It's just above freezing, so there's a little bit of drippage, but it's quite nice in front of the garage.
Oh my goodness, sunshine.
And their sun's coming out now. Holy geez, I'm going to get hot in a minute. Start complaining about that too. So this has been 2 days.
So not the 3 to 4.
Not the 3 to 4. It's 2 days, and this is hard enough, believe you me. I would have probably liked to have done this yesterday afternoon, but we were doing some other stuff. I was trying to get some stuff done in the tunnel. So it's gone off really well. I've had these wet, damp cloths just around the top, kept them damp all the time, because obviously this is going to dry out. The top is going to dry out quite quickly, and it's drying out so fast because obviously it's in the workshop and the workshop's heated. So that's why. Normally I'd put this in the, this time of year, if I was doing these, I'd put these in the polytunnel, and I'd cover it at night with some fleece and some burlap, keeping it damp. So it's the moment of truth. I have no worries about this falling apart, other than the fact that getting the inside piece out sometimes is a challenge. And if you're going to break anything and crack anything, it's when you try and take the inside out. God, that was exciting, wasn't it? Take that off and that. So, okay, that's all the supporting structure, if you want to call it that, off. So now I've got to take off the inside. Take this inside piece out, which has got the split in it. You'll see in a minute why I do the split on it. We'll take these out. So this piece here was not cut too tight, so it should pop out nicely. Now this one obviously has the cut in it, as you can see. It's filled up a little concrete, but this one does not come out first. It's behind the others, so it's the two long side pieces that have to come out first. And you will see in a minute, I promise you, why I put that split in it. Anything you put inside the inside box, don't cut it too tight. Don't make it too tight, because everything obviously expands when it gets wet. That's the easy bit. So this should hopefully, with just a little tap, start coming apart. Take your time, don't rush, because you don't want to spoil all your hard work. Now I can feel this is already really tight. Sorry, just bashed the camera. I can feel this is really tight. So just a little bit of time. And if you try and push this piece over too far, you'll weaken it at the bottom. I'm going to loosen up the other side. As I say, take your time. There's no rush. But
why are you pushing it back and then
I'm trying to just wiggle it a little bit, because there's a little bit too much concrete in the very bottom, which is pinching it at the moment. And if you find that you've got a bit extra in the bottom, more than you want, just get a really fine putty knife I use and just slide that, because this concrete is still green, so it hasn't gone off 100%, and you do not want to leave this until it's gone off 100%, because you'll really make it difficult for yourself. I just run the putty knife in, and then I'll run it up the edges as well, just to try and loosen, give this piece of ply just a little bit of wiggle room, and in a minute it will come out. So this has got really tight, and I think what's happened is this is just, it's come in a little bit with the amount of concrete I've forced in. So obviously as I push that away, it's getting tighter. So all I've done is I put 2 screws in the corners, and then I use a little block of wood, lift a bit from there, and then I come over here and I lift a bit. And once I've got it, and I know that's loose because I could feel it. So once that's loose, just pull it right up, and that one's out nicely. Just pop out. Ha! It worked. Bugger. Just take your time. You've spent enough time casting it, and you don't want to break it now. So that should, in theory, I'm hoping now, wiggle out. This one does not want to give up. Oh, ouch. I'm rocking the bench here.
Use those muscles, Garry.
It's not that, I'm rocking the bench. There we go. Nice. So that's everything out of the middle. We'll come back to cleaning this all up in here in a minute. So that's the inside. So now let's do the outside. The outside will be a piece of cake. What's the side look like? Oh, that doesn't look bad, does it?
Pretty good.
1 or 2 little bubbly bits, but that doesn't matter. And I like the ripple effect of the ply as well. Yeah, one or two little bubbles there, but who cares? That'll look nice in a minute once I rough everything up a little bit, which I'm going to do yet. And then this side. Again, one or two little bits, but doesn't matter.
And the grooves on the top where the framework went.
Yeah, I don't care, because now it's a case of doing some shaping. And then what I use for that is a piece of wood, actually. So if you want to make it look a little bit more rustic, because it's green, you can still get at it. You can still just round the edges off and take a few chunks out where you want. You can knock pieces off the corner, but I generally just like to round it all off with that piece of wood. Make a few, I'll use my drill there. Make a few for this. Take all the sharp, really sharp edges off. That's it. And then these pieces, these little holes here, eventually will pick up some moss and algae, lichen and stuff. So I'll give it a bit more character. But yeah, I mean, that's that. And as for the inside, do not, at this stage, do not try and remove it off the ply. You need to give it a few more days. There's another piece there of the, and that one's, there he is. And there's the other one. So for now we can't lift this, but I will show you that this has gone, that's gone right through to the ply now. That's right onto the ply. So all you got to do eventually is, when this is dried properly, is you'll just pull that all out from the, you pull this out from the top. There we go. It comes out easy. And then you'll find the one that's underneath right there, and you'll pull that out from underneath, because obviously you've got the wire between you. And then you do that on all five, and that gives you your drainage. It's a very easy way to deal with the drainage. Try a bit of wire brush. There it goes. Well, that's not bad actually.
Not really picking it up very easily.
No. So a little bit on the top. Again, just taking off some of these crisper edges and just random. That's about it. I mean, obviously no need to do the inside. I'm going to put this back in the workshop. I can't leave it out here in the sun. It'll dry too quick and crack. Put it back in the workshop, cover it again with just a damp cloth for tonight. And then we'll take the damp cloth off. And then for another couple of days, we'll leave it in the workshop. Not going to touch it. I'm going to let it go off a little bit more. Then we will tip it up, punch the hose in. And that's it. So if you want to weather it, now depending where you are, there are different mixtures that people suggest. You can use, one of the old ones is milk and yogurt. Another one is to go out and find some moss, put it in the kitchen blender when the wife's not around.
Which my husband has done.
Which I have
before.
done. So you get moss, you stick it in the kitchen blender, then you mix it up with yogurt and you paint that on. You paint on cow manure, just cow pats, liquid down, and to try and help build up the lichen and algae. I've tried it all. I don't really find it helps that much. It doesn't speed things up. Best way to green these things up and lichen them up and algae them up is put them in the shade somewhere. So in the ideal world, as soon as the weather's better, I'll find a really shady spot. I'll throw this in there and I could probably leave it there for a year or two. Let it green up a little bit if you want, or if not, you can put it right out. But this one is going to be fine. This will go through the winters, through the summers, no problems. Nice and strong mix. We will be showing you various designs to plant these things up when the weather improves, because we've got plenty to plant. So different techniques and designs that you can do, different plant material you can put in these things. But that one's going to be much, much later. That'll be late spring, I would imagine. But until then, this thing's going to spend 2 or 3 days in the warm, and then I shall put it somewhere, just let it go off on its own.
I wish everybody the best of luck with their own.
Yeah, if you've got any questions, please, like I say, please stick them in the comments. And just bear in mind, depending on where you're watching this to, will depend on how strong you got to make these things. Certainly in the UK, I wouldn't be needing to make this as strong. And I don't even know if I'd be using reinforcing wire in between. It's another step in the process. If you're going to do it, you might as well. But if you really can't be bothered, I think there. But here, I definitely would not be making them without. So yeah, good luck. And we will catch up with you next week. And I have absolutely no clue what the hell we're doing. I know I've got more seed coming this week.
Oh, no.
But yeah, I know. But I'm not going to bore you with that, I don't think. I can feel this warming up already in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So until next week, thanks very much. Please like and subscribe, and bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.